it's Marek, welcome to MDrives and welcome to another video. Today I decided to do one of those cliche videos about what I hate and what I love about my car. But to make it more interesting, I'm going to combine that into one video and I'm going to tell you the 5 things I love and 5 things, or even more, I hate about BMW M2 F87. Well, the first thing is the looks of this thing. I absolutely love it from every angle. It looks absolute perfection to me, and yeah, that's why I love it so much. Every time I leave it on the car park, I turn around and I look at this thing, and that's how I know I really love it. The next thing, it must be the sound. I absolutely love how this thing sounds. It's so sweet when you're moving across the rev range. For turbocharged engine, I think this sounds brilliant. And yes, I do have a sport cat now, but even without one, it sounded absolutely fantastic out of the box. So this must be my number 2. Practicality must be the next thing. You wouldn't expect your sport car to be very practical, but this is an opposite to it. I mean, look at this. It's so deep. You can easily fit in a lot of luggage here, and yeah, it's so practical. Obviously, you have some restrictions, but you know, for what it is, it's amazing. And you can still fit in 4 adults inside, which is an absolute bonus if you have kids. You know, this car can serve a purpose of a 3-4 people family car as well. Not maybe for the long journey, because the rear might be slightly compromised, but yeah, it's not bad. As you can see, I'm sitting here quite comfortably. I have absolutely no issues, and the seat is very comfortable. I'm just about touching the headliner with my hair, but I'm 6'2", so you know, it's really not too bad. If you're 6 foot or below, or 180 centimeters and below, you should be absolutely fine at the back of here. You then, yeah, so this seat is now set to quite comfortable position. I think coming out from here might be the worst part of it, but yeah, it's doable. Now let's talk about the interior. I think it's quite a divisive topic, and some people will love it, some people will hate it. The fact is that this interior, even 5-8 years ago, already looked quite dated, and as of today's standards, it looks actually 15 or even more years old. That's beauty of it, to be honest. To me, it makes it look so classy. It looks very timeless. The fact is that many of the today's interiors, where they invested in lots of big screens, etc., after 5 years they look horrible because there is a new tech coming and they are outdated. This one, I think in the next 10-15 years will still look perfect. And this pre-LCI dials actually have their own charm, and I think people will start appreciate this even more and more in the future because they have that classic BMW M look. Now let's talk about 2 more advantages at the same time, which is handling and rawness of the drive this car gives you. Honestly, what a car! It handles great. The rear wheel drive experience is so unique. Honestly, you can't get that with 4-wheel drives or front wheel drives. Yeah, the rear wheel drive car, it's absolutely amazing. And you're sitting here, you know, the position is great. It's not as good as in Caymans, for example, or a Mira or anything purpose-built like that. But for a car which can take 4 adults, I think this is spot on. And as I said, it gives you so much experience and raw feel to it. You hear all the clicks, all the kind of, you know, sounds coming from the differential, from the turbo, from everywhere, honestly. And I mean, listen to it, just listen to it. Honestly, it's such a great experience. M cars give you such a nice drive, and the steering feel, it feels so direct for the car from this era, which is not like a Lotus or something, which is, well, completely different league, don't get me wrong, but I mean this, it just feels great. You know, on the road you feel like you're so connected to the wheels. It feels sharp. It doesn't feel like the G Series. G Series has a great handling, but that lack of steer feel, it's something which doesn't get it anywhere close to F Series like this one. Honestly, perfect, absolutely perfect. And like I said, it's just the rawness of this car. Oh, I could talk about that all day long, and I could be driving all day long, just this piece of road, showing you how good it is. But yeah, we're limited by time, so let's move on. Now let's talk about what I hate in this car. And unfortunately, one of the things is probably related to all of that rawness, all of that feel the car gives you, and it's related to the build quality and the rattles. Unfortunately, this car, I think it's quite famous for being very rattly. You know, I had many issues with rattles coming from the glove box, coming from the OBD port, coming from the back of the seats. I mean, absolutely from everywhere, from the center console. So you either get used to it or you fight with it, like I did. So you can watch some of my videos if you're interested in that. I've done quite a lot of different things to stop the rattles, because I'm personally one of those who's annoyed by any unwanted sounds. Yeah, so I had to deal with it. The next thing I really didn't like from the very beginning was quite harsh ride at low speeds. So what I mean is, when you're driving on surfaces like this, absolutely crap, you know, at 30-40 miles per hour, unfortunately the suspension was very jittery, very harsh. So the suspension in this car out of factory was set up in a way that if you drive it 50-60 miles per hour and above, it felt perfect. It irons out all the bumps, it grips, it felt absolutely fantastic. But from the day one, I was saying that below 40 miles per hour you drive and it's just, you feel that kind of shaking all the time when the surface it's not perfect, and that can be actually quite annoying. So 2 years into the ownership, I decided to go with the Bilstein suspension, and that really solved the issue. Yes, it made it a bit more sporty, even a bit more harder, but at the same time the Bilstein shocks are so much better when it comes to dealing with all of those road imperfections. And now I have I've set it to slightly softer option, and really that's the sweet spot to me, you know. For the daily driving, the car handles great, but it also filters you from this all like little bumps, which is great. That's what I wanted, so I fixed the issue. But out of the box, unfortunately, you need to you need to be aware that it might be slightly annoying. For some, it might not be a problem. I wanted something more, and I've dealt with it. So another issue, it's a very, 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 very small digital speedo in the middle. I mean, it's tiny. It's probably about, I don't know, 6-7 millimeters, and if you're sitting about 50-60 centimeters from it, it's not really that great to read. You can read it, I can see it, but it's very small, and maybe in the daily driving it's not such an issue, and you don't actually have to rely on it that much. You can actually look at the analog speedo. But when I found it annoying was on a track, when I was learning what speed I should be in every corner, and that's when the digital speedo is very useful. The other thing I hated about this car was the brakes, and in general they are good, but if you're on a track, forget it. You need to upgrade your brakes, and even on the road I've managed to boil my brakes. Well, boil my brakes. I think it was just the brake fluid which basically boiled, and yeah, the pedal gone quite soft. So unfortunately, out of factory, as a minimum, you have to upgrade your brake fluid, and then probably if you want to go on track, you really need to get rid of your standard brakes. Unless you are absolute novice on a track, you're a beginner, you don't do very long sessions, they will be fine. I survived my first track day in this car with the completely standard brakes, and I believe if not the fluid, I wouldn't have an issue. However, if you becoming slightly more serious, slightly more competitive, you really need to think about changing your brake pads at least, and probably do the lines at some point as well. But yeah, brake pads for something slightly more durable would be advisable. When it comes to the discs are fine. You can keep them unless you're really into the track days. I think you'll be all right. The last thing I really hate, and it's really only related to the manual cars, it's the gearing ratio. So I think the 6th gear starts far too low, because I mean, I'm cruising at about 37 miles now, and I'm in a 6th gear at about 1350 RPMs, and the car deals with it absolutely fine. Obviously you shouldn't be pushing car at this RPMs, but it can deal with those speeds because it has plenty of torque. However, where you need the 6th gear is the motorway, because you can achieve top speed of this car in a 5th gear. So the 6th gear is really an addition, which should give you a fuel efficiency. But actually, when you get to the motorway, when you're sitting at 70 miles per hour, this car is already at about, I don't know, 2600 RPM, something like that. And when you get to 80, you're about 30-100, which is just stupid. So if you're driving in Europe, you're sitting constantly at 3000 RPMs at the motorway. Even in UK, you're at like 2600-2700, which is just unnecessary. This car can deal with really low revs, and it should be more like in some Porsches where you get that overgear, where it literally, you know, it drops to like 1800 RPMs at the motorway speed, and then you get the benefit of fuel efficiency. But no, for some reason they decided not to do it, which I think it's an absolute mistake, and it killed efficiency of this car, killed all the potential it has. The other thing I absolutely hated in the M2, although it's better than, for example, in M135i, because they upgraded the linkage in M2, it's the rubbery feel you get from the gearbox out of the factory. It's not really great. It's weird. And some people say, well, it's a BMW characteristics, they were like that for last 30 years. And I get that. It's part of their heritage, let's say, that, you know, they keep the same look of the shifter and the feel of the shifter, but come on, things are moving on and you should be moving on too. So I've changed my shifter to the M Performance version, which improved things because it has less padding and gives you more experience. And then recently I improved the whole thing significantly by buying a different shifter bushing, which fixed the problem to me. Now it feels fantastic. So that's really it. That's everything I wanted to talk about in terms of what I hate and love about this car. And let me know what are your top 5 or top 3 things you hate and you love about this model. I would be, you know, it would be good to hear from you as well. You know, what do you think about this car? But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you shortly in the next one. Please remember, give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you shortly. Goodbye. Do widzenia.